It was good. Make it going.
3:31.
Okay, sorry. Then God said, "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground." So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground." Then God said, "Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your food. And I have given every green plant as food for the wild animals, the birds in the sky, and the small animals that scurry along the ground, everything that has life." And that is what happened. Then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the sixth day.
Busy day. Busy day. He made the land animals. And when he made all of them, he said it was good, just like he said on everything else. He told them to reproduce after their own kind. He made all the cattle. He made all the little scurrying things, all the animals on the land. Okay, he'd already made the ones in the air, the ones in the sea. Now he's making the ones on the ground. And then he said, "Let us make man in our image." Interesting. That doesn't mean they were aliens. It means God's three persons, and he made us in his image. It's interesting, and you have to point this out some numbskulls every now and then, but both male and female are created in his image.
That's right.
Okay? Wasn't men created in his image and women created in their image. That isn't how it works. Okay? We're created like him, and we are triune beings. That means we are made up of three parts, even as he is. That's how we are in his image. He's three, we're three. We're body, soul, and spirit. He's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And so he made us in his image, and we are alive. We're going to look at that in chapter 2 when we come back after the break in a few minutes and look more specifically at the creation of man. But it's important that we see that he created male and female in his image, and he saw that it was very good. This is better than all the other stuff he did. And he said, "Go have babies, fill up the earth, and take dominion over it." We're going to look at some of the implications of that in chapter 2 in a few minutes. But this is what he did on day 6, was he created land animals and he created man. He did not create us like animals. We are not animals. I understand we share some anatomical similarities, but we are vastly different. You don't have to be real smart. In fact, you don't have to have IQ much above plant life to see that we're different. Okay? I understand they can bark a little bit and communicate with each other. They don't have the level of language that we have. They don't have the deductive reasoning that we have, or anywhere close to it. The difference is enormous intellectually. The difference is enormous ethically and morally.
Seems to be getting worse though.
Well, it is, because of sin in the world. That's true. However, with the Spirit of God in us, we can get better.
That's right. Okay,
we have the ability to be regenerated in our spirit in spite of the societal decay that we see around us. And so that's the urgent thing there. So on day 6, created land animals and created man. Okay, somebody read chapter 2, verses 1 through 3 to get to the 7th day.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
When you're tired?
No.
No.
God didn't get tired. He has infinite energy. But he's doing all of this for our sake and to show it to us. Here he establishes a Sabbath rest. And Jesus said the Sabbath was created for man, not man for the Sabbath. Okay? It's for our benefit. And he rested on that day. Now let me tell you how this refutes evolution. Because he quit creating things that day. And he rested. If evolution was going on, he would still be creating things. One of the basic laws of science is matter is neither created nor destroyed. It always continues to exist because he created it, and after he'd done the creation, he rested on that. He set principles in place that work. And when we get to the flood and the aftermath, we'll see some of that stuff there. What questions do you have about chapter 1 and the first couple verses in chapter 2? This is the chronological creation account. This was just a laying out of how it happened. Chapter 2 is going to be an account of creation as focused on man. Okay, it's just a different purpose for the explanation. They're not contradictory. They just have different purposes. And we're going to get to that after the break. But what questions do you have on chapter 1? Ivy?
Adam named all the animals. Adam was created on day 6. He and God had a really busy day before the creation of woman, because there were a lot of, all the animals that exist today existed then. So he and God were naming animals real fast. And that just struck me as I read this week and was like, that was a really busy day.
His intellect was massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
That was
There's
just,
no
that's just,
caveman stuff here.
No.
Intelligence.
because he had to see, he had to see every animal and acknowledge that they weren't suitable for him before God took Adam's rib and made Eve.
Some great lessons in that when we get to the next chapter about that. But you're exactly right.
I just
Somebody had a
love it.
question over here, comment?
Well, to answer the intellect question, when God said it is very good, Adam was perfect in every way, and he had perfect communion with God. His intellect is so ridiculous. It's the technology they probably had back then that was destroyed in the flood.
That's right.
I'm envious.
Yeah.
Well, and this is just my thinking, and I've shared this with you, but they say that the average human uses less than 10% of their brain. And that goes to exactly what you're saying. I believe that the more and more sin crept into the world, the less and less smart we are. The less of our brain we actually use, and we rely on technology, and we rely on this. Let the internet go down and watch how good we are. Watch how smart we are. But I think that backs up how amazingly brilliant he had to be able to do all that he did. It just blows me away. But I believe when we are face to face with Jesus, that we'll have all that back, and so I'll be as smart as Pastor Dan in heaven.
No, there'd be no further degeneration.
I also think it's interesting, and that brings up a really good point, which is we assume, because it's kind of been taught to us through our culture, that mankind has been improving since creation. But really, at creation, man was perfect, and we degraded severely after the fall and then the Tower of Babel and all that. We have been in a constant state of degradation, not a constant state of improvement. We may have electricity now, but I'm with you. Gosh only knows what they had that was better than electricity.
And there's a lot of explanations if you start looking at gene pools and the effect of that over time. We won't be able to get into all of that science, but there's a lot of cool stuff there. Some of it's in the appendices that I've given you in the book there that you can read. If you don't want to read the whole thing, each one of the articles has a little summary at the end of it. That's what I like to do, is go read the summary. Then if it interests me enough, I'll go back and read the whole thing. But for those of you who like to read something quick, I would recommend that. Okay?
Adam may have been the last guy that used 100% of his brain.
That's right.
I think it's one of the things that convinced me about the literal account of Genesis 1 was the word that they use for day is yom in Hebrew, which I've always been taught, use the test to take the test, use the book to interpret the book. Anytime that yom is used throughout the Old Testament associated with a number or morning, evening, or whatever, it literally means a 24-hour period. So that is also something that condemns the old earth theories, is the word that they used. It was not one of the 1,000 years is one day type of words they used for day. It was the literal word for day, a 24-hour period.
I think there was
Can
one
you
or
spell
maybe two
yom?
cases where it was
Wow.
used, something similar was used for a longer time or something, but it's almost always just that way. And the ones that were different, it's easily enough.
It was obvious.
So it's, yeah. Anybody else? All right, we're gonna take a minute or two break, we'll come back and get chapter 2, all right? So we'll get you a